Okay, so thank you once again. Like I was telling you, thank you for joining us in this webinar. Good morning for all of you if you are in the Asia side, and good afternoon or evening according to the time zone that you may be watching us from. My name is Lovery. I am the Technical Pre-Sales Manager for Suprema Latin America. So be welcome everyone. We are Suprema, leading enterprise, leading company for security and biometrics. Today we are going to have a webinar about the best practices, Suprema, all the integration tools that we have for BioStar, Device SDK, and also the BioStar 2 API. This is going to be the first session that we're going to have for this webinar, which is in this time zone, June the 3rd, 5:40 p.m. Probably in your side, it will be 8:40 a.m., 8:45 at this time, probably some other time. So indistinctly of the hour that you will be in your time, thank you for joining us. Tomorrow, we are going to repeat the same session. So if for some reason you don't have enough time to attend to all the webinar this time, tomorrow you will also have the opportunity for receiving all the information that we are going to share today here, okay? We have three different SDKs, or three different tools for development. Two types of SDK for Device SDK, another SBP SDK, and also API. So one of the things that we need to have in mind, and it is good to have in mind, is this checklist, these requirements that these have those present in your mind, to have enough programming languages, knowing about what languages or other type of languages like C, C++, C Sharp, or the other like Java, Python, Go, and other languages. And also please have in mind that Suprema encourages the openness. So if you are working from Windows, please also take in account that you can work from other operative systems as well. And the final note is, though this is not a full training guide for programmers, the things that we are going to talk about here are very technical in the case. So if at some point, for example, if I say that it is a low-level integration, that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, okay? Actually, low-level integration from the programming point of view is a very complete, as more low it can be, as more complete and deep it is, okay? So, just to mention something, okay, about the things that we are going to talk here. If at some point you do not feel comfortable with the language, the programming or technical terms that we are going to be speaking here, please let us know, and we will do our best to try to translate from a different term that you may be able to understand. Right, so the contents, pretty much the things that you see in your screen, some quick overview and tips, considerations, recommendations, and to finish with some study cases for both API and SDK. And at the end, we're going to have a full session of questions and answers. So more than any other thing, please know that even though the questions and answers are at the end of the session, you can interrupt me anytime, okay? Okay, so the integration solutions, these are the set of integration solutions that we can offer for you right away. The Device SDK, the Suprema G SDK, also the SBP Android SDK, local API server, and also the new BioStar 2 API. Right, so before starting, one more thing, just in the case that you may still have some confusion between these two terms of what Suprema mean about them, I'm just going to give you a short overview what we mean. And I say what we Suprema mean about that is because I have seen that from the perspective of other manufacturers, they handle these terms indistinctly, or they give a different meaning for. But for our point of view as Suprema, what we mean by API is this path to communicate with your app. Okay. So we are talking here a high-level integration. Okay, so that means that although it's an easy way, easy between colons, it is easy if you know what you're doing. An easy way to communicate with the Suprema devices and to do integration with third-party software and other platforms. It has some limitations. It is not very deep. So in the case that you may be wanting to develop something more complete, then you will be able to need, or you will be needing an SDK instead. And the SDK, it is like a set of APIs together, not only the set of instructions, libraries, and more, but also the sample codes, developer manuals, and some other things that together make the complete pack, okay? So one thing to have in mind, like I'm saying, when you are knowing that Suprema speak about API is something more, or better saying, less complex than when we're speaking about SDK. All right, about the compatible hardware, when we are speaking about the Device SDK or the Suprema G SDK, all Suprema devices are compatible with that. That means if you have a Suprema device, specifically from the second generation, although we also have an SDK for the first generation, but that is already an end of life, is discontinued. But if you have a second generation device, a device which had been migrated to a second version for BioStar 2, you may be able to use those devices with the SDK or the GSDK. In the case of the API, all the BioStar 2 compatible devices are compatible or supported by the API. And in the case of the SVP Android SDK, these two devices are the ones that you may be looking for. Novus and Omnis, which from the outside, it is a BioStation A2 that has been internally converted for being opened for the programming so that you can access to all the hardware available in the device. So that will be the one that we'll be calling Omnis. All right, so when should we use the SDK and the Suprema G SDK? First of all, when you want to build your own server, when you want to build your own system, okay? So in this case, it is supposed that you will not be working with BioStar in parallel. That means that if you are looking for an alternative to access the Suprema devices without the need of using BioStar, because you may be wanting to integrate the Suprema devices with BMS or a VMS, which is building management system, and a video management system. Probably the SDK in any of the presentations will be your choice. And why? Because this is a more deep type of integration. So although you will be able to handle more complexity and in the instructions for the control of devices, you will not be able to be using BioStar 2 at all. Okay? On the other hand, when should we use the API? And I say both types because we have, as you may already know from the previous webinars that we have had, we have two different APIs, which is what we call the old API or the previous API that reached onto the version 2.6.3, or the new API that was introduced from BioStar 2.7.10. Okay, so either the case, you may be able to use these APIs when you have to build some integration between BioStar 2 and the devices and a third-party software, or a third-party platform, and some other custom UI interface that you maybe want to build, or even if you want to work from your third-party software using still BioStar 2 app to control some aspects of the Suprema devices, you may be able to do that as well, okay? And when to use the SBP under the SDK. And this I will say when you are interested in building a fully customized system. And this is because you will be working in the firmware of the device directly. That means that if you are working towards a fully customized firmware system that will be able to access directly the sensor, for example, for the fingerprint sensor, or for the RF reader, or in the case of the Novus, for communicating remotely to the LTE interface, GPS, or other device that may be available in the hardware that you'll be working with. This will be your choice. Okay, that's it for that for that part. If you have any question until here, please. You may have the time to do it now. If not, let's jump into the next section, which is speaking a little bit more in detail about all of these integration tools. The first of them, okay, so let's keep going. The first of them is the BioStar 2 Device SDK. And what we can offer here for the support, it is documentation, manuals, forum, and GitHub. Okay? What you will be finding here is a set of libraries, shared libraries, including the sample code written in C#. Okay? And down there, you can see here the URL that you can use to access those. What you will be finding if you access the GitHub repository, it is these elements that you can see here. And over here, as we have pointed, the official package. If you click on that official package, you will be displayed this other side, and you will be able to access either by forking the GitHub repository or by downloading the repository in a zip file. If you choose to download it, once you have unpacked it, you will find this here. It will be the package content. So over here, like you see, you will be find the document, examples, and all the libraries like that, okay, that you will be using from your IDE to work. Differences that it is good to notice what are the differences between the beta package and the official packages, okay? Pretty much the difference, it is the quality control process. So if the package has already passed the quality control process, it is meant to be an official package. If that process is not complete yet, then it will be a beta package. Although the beta package and the official package has already the latest bug fixes. Just to have that in mind, and over here you can find the GitHub repository address. All right, so the first set of considerations are as follows. The first, of course, if you are working with the Device SDK, you have to have enough knowledge about C, C++, or C#. Second to that, the examples are being written in C#. Okay, so if in the case that you may be working or wanting to work with the Device SDK and you want to work with another language besides C, C#, or C++, you are free to write your own wrappers for the functions, okay? But in that case, we will not be able to give you support if you are working in a different language than the one that we are officially supporting, okay? Number 3, this is the link. Afterwards, we will be providing you from all this documentation that you can just copy and paste, or just to have a reference, you can Google it as well. And then you will find the full documentation from the SDK. So once this has been said, please have in mind that if you are searching for something specific, please just have enough patience. Without any doubt, you will find it there. Okay. Another thing that is worth it to say, it is okay, thank you, Dante, for that question. Yes, we have now the GSDK, and the GSDK, it does have support for Java. So I'm just going to speak a little bit more about that in the next slides. Okay, so that is good, and thank you for bringing it up. Okay, so as for the point 4, if you come with these kind of questions to us, like, for example, how do I read and answer, which is in JSON format, please have that in mind, that the support that we are giving for the SDK is not with that kind of issues, okay? The support that we are giving about the SDK is directly with the instructions that you use for interacting with the Suprema devices. Or in the other case that I can mention, last time someone came to me and say, hey, Lovely, how can I read or how can I decode a base64 type? And you know, if you are a programmer like myself, you'll probably be laughing right now, because you know that if somebody is working with this kind of data types, they should be knowing what they are doing. If not, just kindly please register yourself in websites like Stack Overflow, or even just Google searching, and you will find some help there. But if you are working directly with instructions related with the Suprema devices, with all, we will be helping you, okay, to solve any issue that you may be presenting. Next to that, just want to say it once again, when you are working with the SDK, you cannot work with BioStar 2 in parallel. And why? Because the devices can only answer to one server at a time, okay? Not two or more. Next one. Working with the SDK means the customer wants to build their own system, sometimes from scratch. That is literal. Or in the case that you want to integrate the Suprema devices with some other platform, like I was saying in previous slides, with some VMS or some DMS, and in either the case, you may be able to use the SDK, but having the consideration that you will be needing to take care of all the constructions for the database, for other things, connections and other things that will not be expressly the communication between Suprema and the devices. And that is the point of the 7. The SDK handles all the communication back and forth with the Suprema devices, but not from there to any other element that you may have in the system, okay? If you want to have some other kind of instructions or the type of instructions, you may be needing to take care of those things by yourself. So please have that in mind. The SDK covers all the related instructions regarding to the functions of Suprema devices and the interactions from the back and forth. From there to other point, please, and I say it repeatedly because many times we have received questions from the customers about that. If you need to work with the connection of the driver to some SQL database, you have to do it by yourself. Please have that in mind. And also, like I'm saying, the point 8, although the SDK allows controlling Suprema devices in a very granular way, it is not recommended for initial users, okay? Please have that in mind, okay? And why? Because although the features are fully and complete, the preconditions and prerequisites that you need to that can be somehow overwhelming for some experience, for some user that lack experience, okay? So please that have all these considerations in mind. And examples in consideration for the GSDK will come soon. right? Some example code and some quick start guide you can find in these links that we are giving you here. Okay? If you have some question until this point, please do it now. If not, we're going to jump onto the next element, which is the Suprema SDK. And as Dante was asking me before, with this new SDK that we have introduced just a short time ago, we have the chance to cover all the other languages that before we will not. And this will be for Java, Python, and some other languages that are going to be covered. And if they are not covered already, they will be in the near future. Okay. So this is based on the gRPC framework or gRPC infrastructure. And if you know already about the gRPC, you know this infrastructure is cloud-based. It was born with that in mind, so it is being optimized to work in such a way that it is language independent. The means of that is that you can be working with pretty much all type of languages like you see in the gRPC client, like Go language, C#, Java, Python, Ruby, and other languages as well. And we at Suprema right now, we have the support for these, and we are going to bring up the support from another languages in the coming future, in the near future, like I was saying before. So now with this, you are able to work with other languages that previously probably we were not. To make still some comparison between the Device SDK and the Suprema SDK, it is this that you can see in your screen right now. The implementation for the Device SDK is shared libraries. You know, this is not a new paradigm. It's been in the programming world for quite some time until now, but the GSDK paradigm is quite new. Okay, here you will be handling client libraries and also all the concepts with device gateway, master gateway, and some other. That if the case that you do not know about what is gRPC, please give a search about that, and you will understand all the things that you want to know. As for the operative system support, before we had support for Windows and Linux only, but now with the GSDK, we have support for pretty much all the languages, all the operative systems, sorry. Windows in both x86, that means 32-bit or 64-bit, and also for another architectures like ARM architecture and also for Mac OS X. And the supported languages have also increased in the GSDK, C++, Java, Python, Go, Ruby, C#, Node.js, and others as well. So you may be finding yourself more comfortable probably working with the GSDK. But the current situation of the GSDK is that we have implemented, better saying, R&D have implemented some simple features until now. The kind of features that we will be implementing as Suprema for the GSDK will be expanding in the time. Okay, so please keep tuned. All the announcements that we are going to release about this. Okay, more to the BioStar 2 API. Some advantages of using the API over the SDK. Okay, here we are jumping into another tool of integration. Just please have that in mind that the previous two were SDKs, as we said before, is the software development kit. But from this point on, we are talking about API like this, which is a set of instructions which are more flexible, or in the sense of less complex than the SDK. And what are the advantages of using the API over the SDK? And these are one of them, a couple of them. The API allows you to keep working with the BioStar 2 BioStar 2 server. Okay, so that is pretty much one of the biggest advantages, that in the case that you may be wanting to still use all the good things about BioStar 2, you will be able to do it using the SDK, the API, okay? All right, so also when you are working with the API, you can still make all the interactions with the third-party software and also making direct communication with the BioStar 2 server. Like I was saying, because you are using the BioStar 2 server service, you will not be needing to build your own database, because you will be working with all the database schemas that are already configured into a BioStar 2 server. And also be able to be working with the Suprema app that it is either in the Play Store or in the other architecture, okay? So probably those are one of the most prominent advantages. And once again, what is the API? It is the way to integrate with third-party software, and still, like I was saying, using the back-end service of the BioStar 2 server through the API engine, communicating with the third-party software, okay? So this is one of the most good things about that, which allows you to have integrations developed in less time to be less complex as well. Okay, so when to use the API, for example, let's say that we want to extract the logs, the user logs from the third-party software. We can be making the call. Our development or your application will be the bridge between the third-party software and the BioStar 2 server. And once we receive these, we can be sending here with the proper calls that we'll be needing. And once we make the requirement, the event logs information will be answered back, will be replied back to the place, okay? Which in this case is the third-party server. And in the way, or in the time that you may be wanting to retrieve the event logs in real time, that will be using the WebSocket interfaces, okay? And why? Because when you use the such condition from the API as a RESTful API, it takes some time to register first the events through the server, and then to store those events into the database, and then the API retrieves the data from the database. So in all that procedure and all that time consumes a couple of seconds, so it's not completely in real time. But when you are working through the WebSocket, the communication is pretty much in real time. So in the case that your application may be needing to work in real time, this will be a choice that you will be having, okay? So as for mentioning some advices, which kind of tools to use for your development when you are using the API, probably the first one will be Postman, which is this one. In case you do not know it yet, is this being developed by Google, and it is a way to try the API calls directly from the program without the need to write all the code. But if you are working right away with some AngularJS, for example, you may be working with the Angular IDE, which is this one, or probably Atom, which is this other one. And in my experience, Apache Cordova is a very good one. It has a lot of good tools that you can be using, or probably IntelliJ IDEA, which is this one of WebStorm as well, which are products from JetBrains, the same developers from the Android Studio, and from my point of view, very good ones. And also, if you are very faithful to Microsoft products, then you will be working with Visual Studio or with Xcode, which is a free version from the IDE, okay? These are just recommendations in case you may be wanting to know which alternatives you have to work with the API. Right. Just a brief introduction not very extensive about the Android SBP or the SBP Android SDK. Some comparisons between the SDKs when you are working with the device SDK. What you are working with or through it is the server, and all the instructions from here to the device are already written. Here you are only using it to customize your server, and you will be still working with the stock firmware for the device. But in the case of the SBP Android SDK, everything will be customized. And why? Because the SBP Android SDK allows you to unlock everything in the device, okay? In this case, the BioStation A2, which we call Omnis, or in the case of Novus device as well, you will be able to be working directly in the device in the same way that you will be doing if you will be working or developing an application for an Android phone in this case. So all the things that you are able to do through the Android Studio, you will be also able to be working with the SBP Android SDK. In this case, like I was saying previously, you have complete freedom and you can create your own firmware. Okay? So just to make a comparison on how the SDK handles the interchange or the exchange of the data through the instruction, which we call BS to scan fingerprint. That server or the SDK retrieves the firmware from the device, and then what it is returned to the server, it is not the full raw image from the fingerprint, but the template. So the stock firmware already makes the work to convert the raw fingerprint image to the template, and then the template is returned. But in the case of the SBP Android SDK, what you are doing is that you are handling the fingerprint scanning through a device listener. And then all the data in raw will be transferred from the device SDK through the server. Here you have to write in your own through the Android SDK all the things that you will be needing to convert the raw data into a template, and from there to do whatever you want with the system. Okay. So how to get started here? You have the SBP Android SDK site in our Suprema base knowledge. Over here, you find the manual online. You can get started, and how to do it. You can download the Android Studio and then import the library as if you will be working with a third-party library from Android Studio, and then to deploy your code into the device that it will be connected through USB through your computer. Okay? And some small video demonstrations that you have here to install. You see that the device has become just like a phone, an Android phone. Here you can, I don't know, just enroll a new user and then scan the fingerprint, put your finger in the sensor, make the verification from the fingerprint, and then show the enroll success. And after that, you can also verify, which will be the same as the authentication. As you see, this graphical interface that is in the demo video is very simple. It's not for a production, of course. It is just to show the functionalities. Or in the case of the monitoring, for example, you can find all the things that are happening right away when you scan the fingerprint, everything that it will be happening at the time in the device. What you can do through the demo app that we can provide you if you are working with the Omnis is to turn the device on, to open the app, test the fingerprint authentication, enroll the fingerprint, verify, update the fingerprint, or also delete the data. Okay. From there, if you need to work with something else, then that will be your call. Okay. So that is it for all the how can I say, recommendations or things. We are going to jump onto the practical cases. which is based on the experience of the partners in our region, that we can mention some of the study cases that have applied either the SDK or either the API. Okay, if you have some question until here, please, you may do it now. Okay, so all the questions that have been done, all my co-workers and the agents are being taking care of them right now. So after the time, we'll be having another time questions and answers. Okay. Let's get to this. API integration cases. Probably one of the most known in Latin America will be this visitor software, which name is Welcome, developed by the company, which name is Welcome Technologies. And as you can see the description in the slide, the process of the software when a person arrives is first he can schedule the visit that he is going to have through an online website. When he gets to the physical place, he presents his ID. The program has this online recognition tool for extract all the data from the document, to the capture all the fingerprints, and also that is in upcoming, that is in process right now, the integration with Face Station 2 and FaceLight. Until this time, it is taking the picture and retrieving and rolling the fingerprint from the person. After that, the software takes care of all the access control rules for the software and the integration of that with BioStar 2, access rules as well, the access groups as well. And the visitor has a chance to enter the building with his fingerprint, also making a real-time monitoring on him. And after finishing, it is a automatic checkout. Okay, so these are one of the best features that we can mention about this software, and this was developed using the API. Okay? This is another project that was worked using the API, and this was for the Israeli Export Center, using BioStation L2 as a managing device for the turnstile system, and the WebSocket that I was speaking about, just some slides previously, to retrieve the logs in real time, and then to extract the information from the partner, from the person that is in the system already, and then showing that information in a screen that is visible to the security personnel that is in the opening side or in the entry side of the building. With this, of course, the system becomes more intuitive and more secure as well, as for the partner cannot enter if the picture it is different from the person that is actually entering the building, and some other security concerns that they have in the place. Another case that we can mention here, it is this case where the integration was made with Easy Lobby from HID, and also to another ACU brand that they used Face Station 2 and also the replication to this data center with TIR3 and the replication, the user's replications, okay, for the visitors. Another case that we can mention here, it is the integration through the API with Tyco. In this case, the user's creation are being handled by software house. This is specific, and the replication by the API and also database integration. Okay? So the Suprema devices are being connected through WIGAN to the third-party ACU, and through the API, the user's replication to have in both platforms at the same time, and then to have a more transparent integration. Okay. And this is another visitor software. This was developed by Drums, which is one of the partners that we have in the region. The name of the software is In Access, and if you can be noticing, the software has the look and feel the same as BioStar 2. It looks pretty much like BioStar 2. So that is one of the things that customers has been liking so far. And here, the same as you can read in the description of the key features, you are able to establish different types of visitors. You are able to enroll using either Face Station 2 or either Face Light, not only the BioMini Plus 2, or taking pictures only through the webcam. That means that in this case of the pandemic COVID-19, you can be registering the users for visiting your place using Face Station 2 and Face Light, not only Fingerprint. Okay? You can assign different kinds of cards using the same system, and everything is embedded and completely integrated with BioStar 2. So that is one of the best features that we can mention. This software that was built using the API. Another software pretty much similar, it is this food court management system where the personnel is managing the fingerprints or the printing of tickets using the API and the integration with BioStar, of course, for a third-party software, which is a food court management platform software. Okay? The difference here, because we have also some integration with printers for the fingerprint devices, but are serial printers. In this case, this customer, this partner in the region have developed through the API the integration for TCP and USB printers. Okay? Besides the integration, like I said previously, with the food court system. Another type, time and attendance system. In this specific case, the integration goes for the way to integrate a web request for leaves. Okay, so the workers, the employees, they can access through the system for a website which was developed by the partner, and this website it is integrated via API to BioStar 2 TNA service, TNA module, and it can schedule the leave request from them, and once the person from the HR they allow the leave request, then the leave request enters to the module of BioStar 2, and also the deductions, the proper deductions of salary from the payroll software. Okay? So this is a very good system that was developed as well using the API. And another integration, in this case, the customer is IKEA. You may be knowing this company is a worldwide company, and in this case they use as well the WebSocket to retrieve the live information from BioStar and from the devices, and using this information for consolidation, remote authentication, and staff control as well. Okay, this is another. And also in the parking system. This parking system was built also using the API, and one of the good things about this is it is integrated with the time and attendance module from this company in Guatemala, which is one of the biggest companies of the most prominent enterprise business towers in Guatemala. And this is also handling through the turnstile or the system for the access control for all the employees, okay? And it is also integrated with the CCTV, so that is one of the best key features that we can mention about this system. And another co-integration with Core Station. In this case, the country was Peru, and the end customer was Peru. All this case was also shared in the study cases for the Core Station that are already in our social media, and then you can retrieve more specific information about what this customer or what this project was about if you search in our website, as we mentioned before. the integration between SAP BioStar 2 through the API, and also managing some third-party readers for some control systems and control specifics using the DM20 to activate the relays. Okay? Like I was saying, using a third-party readers, not Suprema readers in this case. So this shows the flexibility that we have with our devices and the integration with third-party platforms as well. Okay. So that was for the API integrations. To jump onto the Device SDK integrations, this is what we have. A time and attendance custom platform that was developed specific using our devices to apply or to integrate with these other platforms. Okay? In some cases, we are not allowed to disclose more information, but this is useful to tell you that you can use our Device SDK to do pretty much what you want to do. This is a healthcare personal management, and from my point of view, this is very clever and this is really good to handle all the needing functions for the personal. As you can see, the programming diagram or the procedure diagram, you have the paramedic personnel, and the first question that the system does is where are they? Do you know where are they based on the punchings, given punching out to punching in that they have done through our devices, retrieves through the Device SDK. In this way, they can know where the personnel is. Once they know where the personnel is, the first thing that they ask is, are they in an allowed break time, yes or not? If they are, then they go for those that are available, and when it finds the first personnel that is available, they send this personnel to attend the emergency. Okay? So that is very good thing that they've been having applied in quite some companies around in the region. And if you may be interested in knowing more about any of these things, you can write us and we'll be glad to help you. Okay? Another system, this was developed in Colombia. This is TNA on the way. Okay, this was developed before we were releasing Novus device. So this system is taking BioEntry W2. They connect the BioEntry W2 inside the bus. This system connects remotely also through the SDK to another system through the internet, arrives to a custom server, to a custom database, and in this way they do the time and attendance controls, okay, using our Suprema devices. And also to mention some other that is quite interesting, it is a Bolt control system that was a project some time ago developed from this BMS, which name is Akelo, using a custom interface for the Device SDK and the Face Station 2 and the BioEntry W2 to make a stronger dual and simultaneous user parallel authentication. The way they developed this was two persons were initiating the authentication at the same time. One with the face and one with the fingers. And once one is done with the face, then he goes to the finger, and the one that started to the finger, then he goes to the face. So it is performing both authentications at the same time. And of course, if one of these persons that they are meant to start the procedure in one way and they're starting in the opposite way, then they are using this order as a duress type of authentication. So the bolt will not open even if the authentication is successful. So this, all conditions are being handled through the custom interface and through the Device SDK. Okay, so this system is really interesting. And actually, like I'm saying, if you are interested in making some other type of integration and you may be wanting some assessment from us about where or how to do it, then you can contact us, and we'll be gladly on helping you. Okay. And some other cases that I can mention, some integrations that are on the way, is with Averix Unity software. This is being developed specifically for some country right now, and we are waiting that some after this will be ready. It will be also ready for many other places. Okay. Averix have been working through the integration of CoreStation along with another units from us to have the integration between their platform and our devices. And some other integrations that are coming on the way that we are still in negotiations on how to handle them. It is with Arteco. Okay, Arteco is very respectable EVMS software that is events video driven management system. Okay, so this is very good. You can check that software in Google if you want to know more about that in integration, like we are saying, using Suprema devices. Okay. Just arriving to the finish of our presentation, of our webinar today, the conclusions that we can mention about those are, through the Device SDK, it is possible to access the Suprema devices directly. Okay? Although it allows us to have much more granular control of the functions of our devices, this is at the same time one of the most complex. Okay, so if you are intending to do a quick integration, please think about the API instead of the SDK. But if you want to jump deeper, then probably the SDK will be the choice. Perhaps, like I'm saying in the second point, you may be interested in wanting to work with the API instead, then you can be doing it, taking in account these considerations that I'm writing you here. And the third one, if you are a bit bolder, you want to go and build your own software, your own platform, all from scratch and all from the device framework, you can go for the SVP under the SDK, and you will be able to handle everything you want using the Omnis hardware or also the Novus device. Okay? And just to finish, going towards the future, we, Suprema, want to take you to that point. So just imagine the opportunities that unfold when all the integration power between the platform is in your hands. Okay, so like I was saying, we Suprema want to take you there. Okay, so in the case that you are not still working with us in this kind of projects, please think about it and take it as one of the advices that you can take to your heart. You can rely on us, and we'll do our best to support you and to provide you with all the things that you need so that you will be able to accomplish everything you want. Okay, so that is it for my side. If you have some questions, you may do it now. And if you may be wanting to write us, you can do it through the email that you see in your screen. And if you are contacting us from another place that is not Latin America, also we can direct you to the proper channel that will be able to handle your request in your own region. And if you are listening to us from Latin America, then you can write directly to us, and we'll be gladly helping you. Okay? So we open the questions and answers times. Be comfortable in doing it. Okay, we are getting ready for wrapping up the webinar, and before we end the polling, thank you so much. I am deeply grateful for the time that you reserved for us in this time. Thank you so much. Please be tuned for all the webinars that are upcoming as well. And if at some point you did not have enough time to join us for this session, for the full session. Tomorrow we are to be covering again the same materials. So if you want to invite some other person to assist and get this information, please, you may be able to do it. As well, like I'm saying, once again, thank you so much for your attendance. It was a pleasure for us to have you in this opportunity. So once again, muchas gracias a todos los que nos acompañaron desde cualquier lugar en Latinoamérica. Muchas gracias por su tiempo. Thanks a lot. Grazie mille. And toma kamsahamnida. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day if you are starting your day in your time zone, and if you are in an evening time like myself or some other in between, the same way. Have a wonderful day, have blessings from above, and thank you so much for everything. Bye-bye.